Back when I was smart, I would let them come to me. Just remote area. Come go to a remote area that's not anywhere near where you live, but that other people go to as well.
There's no time.
The time is
13
o'clock.
This is episode 99.
That's right, and 100 is going to be next week.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we're actually recording this one kind of earlier than we normally would, just so I have more time to work on the 100th
Yeah,
episode.
the 100th one's going to be kind of big. It's kind of complicated, so it's going to take Jenny a couple of days to get that video right. Probably.
Yeah, because we have a lot of video of us and stuff like that we kind of have to edit together. And
Yeah, and it has to be two different versions, a video version and an audio-only version, because the video will displace audio. No, it's too complicated. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
You guys probably understand. But yeah, since that's going to take me so long to do, I wanted to kind of get ahead on next week. So we're actually recording this on the 4th of July.
That's right. And Kayla's going to be right around the corner. And it looks like Jenny's actually probably got some rum right there. That's a rum sunset.
That is a rum sunset,
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't make myself a drink.
And I've already drunk half of it.
Yeah.
And I also already finished off your birthday cake.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm not gonna have a drink. I'm just gonna power through this. I'm gonna muscle my way through this show. I'm gonna resist the temptation.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
You're funnier with the drink though.
Okay, pause it.
All right. Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
He's returned.
Yeah.
With Keela in hand.
Yeah, that's like a sunrise there. That's probably like a quadruple or a triple. It's all right though.
Like I said, that's like a bucket of tequila.
Yeah. It's 4th of July.
That's what I mean. It's a holiday.
I'm gonna find an excuse anyway. I'm gonna find an excuse.
Not like we didn't drink last night too, because we did. But yeah, I'm just saying. Well, that was why I'm just like, I'm gonna have booze and cake. It's the 4th of July. Woo! So if you hear explosions in the background,
yeah, it's our neighbors.
It's our neighbors with their fireworks.
Yeah, last year they had like $1,500 worth of
Yeah, he told
fireworks.
us they spent $1,400 worth of fireworks last year.
It did go on for a long time. I helped him with it. It was a lot of fireworks.
They did. It was going on till like 2 or 3 in the morning.
It's not dark yet, but if that kicks off, we won't be recording by that late though. Anyway,
probably not. But yeah. So if you hear anything in the background, that's all that is. It's nothing scary. It's not like we don't live in like South Central or anything like that.
Actually, I heard South Central's gentrified now.
Well, everything's getting gentrified.
Who knows? Who knows?
But so the topic we're doing today, not a real pleasant topic for the holiday, but you know, that's how shit goes on this show. We don't do pleasant topics.
No.
Not usually.
No, this is like a Mysteries of the Unexplained type program with unsolved murders and serial killers and paranormal stuff, and sometimes this is going to happen. It's just got to happen sometimes.
Yeah, it does, yeah. So this topic, we're talking about the serial killer Israel Keys, and this has actually been requested at least 3 times by at least 3 different listeners.
Right.
I had heard the guy's name. I didn't know a great deal about him, so I've spent the last few days delving into this dude, and wow, now I kind of wish I didn't know anything about him.
Yeah, you told me about him. Sounds like a real shitbird.
Yeah, now here's this asshole.
Okay.
That's how everything about him should be introduced. But but from the perspective of a true crime aficionado, such as myself and such as some of our listeners, he is a very interesting case study just because he deviates from a lot of the standard serial killer kind of patterns.
Yeah.
And also because no one actually realized not only that he was a serial killer, but actually that there were any murders at all.
Right.
Until...
Kept it under wraps for a long time.
Yeah, until he was caught for a particular thing, and then they only retroactively, found out about this shit. So the case is still wide open because
Kinda
they don't actually know how many people he killed. So, so we're going to get into that a little bit later. But first, as usual, we're going to do our shout-outs. If you have not seen our latest movie review, it was the 1978 movie Martin by George Romero, his vampire movie.
Yeah, cool flick.
It's a very cool flick, and so go check that out if you haven't already.
For what it is, old 70s retro flick, if you like that kind of stuff. If you like Night of the Living Dead, if you like vampire movies, it's about like that. Yeah,
like a gritty old 70s vampire movie.
Yeah. It's like
A
watching.
little bit like an exploitation / art house.
Makes you
vampire
feel dirty watching it. It's kind of, feels like you're kind of watching a snuff flick. It doesn't look, it looks like you're digging through somebody's bad home movies, dirty home movies or something like it.
But that's what I mean. That really
that's part of the
contributes to the
charm of that
atmosphere.
movie,
I know. That's why I like movies from the 70s, because they have that kind of creepy aura about them. Also, be sure to check out our Zazzle store at zazzle.com/13 o'clock. And I still have those 4 new shirt designs that you can check out at Lana Ripper, H.H. Holmes, and a couple other ones. They're pretty cool, so go check them out. Also, if you would like to financially support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/13 o'clock, or go to our blog, which is 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com, and there's a link in the sidebar to a PayPal account where you can give a one-time donation. I'd like to say hello again to Kieron, who he'd actually been given on PayPal, but he just recently went back to Patreon again.
Okay.
So he's been contributing this whole time, but he's moving around from format to format, which is fine.
That's cool.
You can do whatever the hell you want to, honestly. Mm-hmm. And also, if you're into Reddit and want to go talk to other fans of the show, you can go to our 13 o'clock subreddit, which our fan Duncan started. And I think all the episodes are up now. They each have a little forum, so you can go talk about it with other fans. I'm a moderator on there, but I'm not on there that much, but I'm going to try and be on there a little bit more in the future. Oh, before we get into the news stories, I wanted to just I wanted to mention this entertaining little anecdote. It was something that happened to us the other day.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we went out. Where were we? We went to the grocery store.
To the grocery store
or something.
Yeah.
And we were driving back into our neighborhood, and we're driving by this house, and the garage door was open, and we see a black bear.
Yeah. Cruising
into the garage.
Well, you saw it. I didn't see it. You told me.
Yeah, we drove past, and I was like, that was a bear. I was like, he was going into that house's garage.
And I said, there was a bear in there? And you went, yeah.
I said, yeah, I just saw him walking up the driveway.
So hold on, I'm going to go get him. And I backed up. Tell what happened.
Well, because here's the thing. So he backs up to the house, and he pulls up into the driveway, and then I think you kind of got out of the car, rolled out the window, and called to him.
Yeah.
And he kind of came out like, well,
yeah,
and was like looking at you. And
he was looking at him, and I was talking to him.
And then you were kind of trying to get him to like spray, because the problem is that, I mean, we have bears all over the place.
Yeah, I've had them walk in on me while I was working on the bikes.
Yeah.
Just looking at me through the garage door and said, what's up, man? Come here. If you want to get rid of a bear, just call him. Tell him to come here.
And he's like, oh, shit.
They go, oh, shit. They run. You got to get up. Go, come here, bud. Come here. And they go, oh, no, I have. I'm
in trouble.
Yeah, they run. Yeah.
Well, these aren't grizzly bears. These are black bears. Yeah. Which, some of them, they get quite big.
Yeah.
But they're generally not all that aggressive. The only time they usually hurt people is if somebody, like, fucks with them or fucks with their babies.
Actually, no. Not the cubs. They're not too protective of them.
But
they're not like grizzly bears. It's usually some kind of a misunderstanding, and then sometimes they're just bad black bears. Some black bears just don't like people. They're a pretty highly evolved creature. They're not an apex predator. They're just kind of like a generalist.
They're scavengers.
They're like
particularly around here.
The black bear is a lot like a really big raccoon.
Yeah.
Now, a raccoon can tear you up under the wrong circumstances.
True.
You know what I mean? But
most of the time, they don't really want to fuck with you.
Yeah, they're pretty reasonable, actually.
Yeah.
They make a lot of displays and grunting and growling and fake charges, but a black bear, they don't want trouble most of the time.
And this one was this was a juvenile. He wasn't a baby, but he wasn't a full grown one, because I've seen full grown ones running around.
It's about the size of a large dog.
Yeah, it was like a big Rottweiler size.
Yeah.
But we kind of ran him out of there.
Yeah, he went across the street and looked at me.
And he went across the street and looked like, what?
Yeah.
I was looking for a garbage can. Why can't I do that? Well, because the reason we did that, and then we went and knocked on the house's door and was like, hey, you might want to close your garage door because the bear just ran in there.
That old lady was thrilled. You chased that bear out of there?
Yeah, my hero.
Yeah.
It was like this old lady.
Yeah.
Well, no, but the reason we wanted to do that was because probably like a year and a half ago, might have been longer ago than that. Not our neighborhood, but a neighborhood like only a mile away from here. Evidently, like a woman walked out into her garage.
Yeah.
And there was a bear out there going through her garbage cans, and she startled it.
And she accidentally had trapped it between the wall and the parked car.
Yeah, and it kind of flipped out because it felt like it couldn't get out.
Yeah, and there was no way out of the garage except through that woman. And it charged her, grabbed her by the pant leg, and drug her.
Yeah, it didn't kill her.
No, and then let her go.
Yeah, it just kind of moved her out of the way because it panicked.
Yeah.
And then it ran away. And then that woman called animal control.
Yeah.
the animal control people came, and they ended up shooting.
They exterminated a bunch of
7 bears.
Yeah, and I knew some of those bears.
Yeah, because we had seen some of those bears around. So, and it was sad because I think I came home from work while the animal control guys were by our house because there had been one around there.
Yeah.
And they were super bummed out. They're like, man, we really hate having to do this, but it's like, you know, the people, they're complaining, and they're like, you know, these bears are getting in the garbage.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, that's the whole reason they tell you in this neighborhood, particularly, we live kind of, it's not a rural area, but there's a lot of woods around, there's a lot of farms around.
The best one was I was in our bedroom, and I had the little shades. I had the shades pulled that will go out to the back patio, and you were in here writing a book, and I saw what I thought was a person out back there, behind there.
Yeah.
Open the shades and look, and there was a big old bear, bigger than a big man, and he was stretched out and laying down on its side right there on the back patio.
Check me out.
Yeah.
I'm so sexy.
So I opened up the door.
Sexy bear.
So I opened up the door and went, "What's up, man?" And he jumped up and ran towards that. Yeah, he goes, "Oh no!" And he ran towards the fence, stood up, grabbed the top of the fence, and did a pull up and pulled himself over the fat ass over the top of the fence and fell on the other side. Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago.
I remember seeing him climbing up and going, I didn't think he'd be able to do it. He was like,
trying to pull himself
that's
over
kind of that's right on a high fence. Yeah. You should have given him a cookie. We could have had a pet bear.
No, as soon as I opened the door and looked at him, he saw me. He panicked and ran.
Yeah,
they won't stand their ground, and they won't stand their ground.
And they see people all the time because there's tons of them hanging out and say, well, shit, we see them. I would be coming home from work sometimes, see like 2 or 3 of them like running through somebody's backyard, like, woo, you know what I mean?
I've seen videos of people doing exactly the wrong thing. They see one of those big old black bears and they run. So what's the black bear do? Chases you.
Well, yeah, because you're acting like something that they should eat.
Yeah, and they don't eat you though. They just gallop alongside you. Where are we going? Where are we going? Yeah. Crazy.
Well, it's just kind of like they tell you with a dog. It's like better to not. If you turn around and run away, they're going to bite you in the ass.
If you run into any kind of bear, best thing to do is just greet the bear and walk right towards it. And that includes grizzly bears.
Then it won't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, it depends on big grizzly bear, but I've heard a lot of grizzly bears will just run from you.
Most of the time, unless you get that one that guy got eaten by. That was like he thought was kind of his buddy.
They just don't think it's normal that prey doesn't walk up to them.
Yeah, so they're always just kind of like
they're leery.
Yeah. What is this going on? I don't like this action. So yeah, I thought I would just add that in there because I was like, I couldn't believe it. Well, at first I thought it was just a dog, and I'm like, well, hell, that's a bear.
This is broad daylight.
Yeah, it was
Remember
just.
that time we came back from the club and there was one sitting in the
driveway.
In the driveway? Yeah,
it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. We're like this big, huge black bear.
Yeah, and some of those black bears. That black bear, if it were to stand up, it'd be probably a 9-foot tall black bear.
That was a really big bear.
He was a big old black bear, yeah.
But he was very chill. He was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'm going.
He was bigger than Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Probably about 7 feet. Probably.
Yeah, he was a very large bear.
Yeah.
But, that was pretty cool, actually. All right, so I just wanted to say that kind of thing. Now, before we get into the Israel Keys thing, I got, like, a couple of news stories. Again, these are ones that I just...
This is the news.
Thank you very much.
I gotta get, like, a purpose.
I thought you were gonna do it like the Sweet Caroline.
This is the news. The news.
See, that kind of works.
The news with Jenny and Thomm.
That kind of works. I like it. I'm going to record that.
That was a Keela-assisted news song.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was very nice.
All right.
So these are just like 4 little stories that I got from, one of those News of the Weird sites that I thought were amusing or horrifying, or whatever. Now, this first one, this took place in the town of Teesside, England. A 22... What?
Teesside.
Well, it's not T like T-E-A, like on the side
of
the teacup. It's T-E-E, like a golf
All right,
tee.
okay. It was just playing into some stereotypes that I had in my mind. I'm not gonna say anything.
That's good. Probably for the best.
We got too many British listeners. I'm not gonna be bagging on them about drinking tea.
There's nothing wrong with tea. I
like tea. I drink tea, but I drink iced tea. I'm Southerner.
We drink hot tea too sometimes.
I drink cold tea with lemon in it.
Well, yeah.
And sugar. Lots of sugar.
Lots of sugar. Yeah, you need lots of sugar. But I like chai.
We call it sweet tea.
Yeah. It'll rot your teeth, too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous sweet. Okay, so here's this guy from Teesside, England. He's 22 years old. His name is Jordan Easton. He was at his friend's house. They're hanging out in the kitchen, and all of a sudden, he starts bragging that his vest which I don't know if they mean that in the American vernacular of vest, which is like, a vest like a suit jacket.
It's underneath your suit.
Because, I think in the UK, vest, I think, is kind of like a wife beater type thing.
Sleeveless t-shirt.
Yeah, if I'm thinking of the right thing.
Okay.
So he says to his friend, guess what? My vest is stab-proof.
Okay, yeah, this sounded good. This sounded good already.
Does this sound like a Florida man story? But this is an
really
England man story.
Okay, all right. I got a related story, but go ahead.
Okay.
I got a related story.
So he says, my shirt is stab-proof. Then he's like, watch, I will demonstrate. Guess what happened? I love the way that this article phrases it. The assistant coroner, which should tell you what happened there, testified. It says, to prove it, he took hold of a knife to demonstrate and sadly realized it wasn't the case.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So he was taken to the hospital. Doctors were unable to save him. I guess he stabbed himself in the chest like an idiot.
Yeah.
Also, they said that there was an inquest several months later. They said they found no evidence Easton intended to harm himself and died after, quote, a boisterous act.
Yes.
He boisterously stabbed himself in the chest.
There's
Good job.
There's like a video going around on YouTube of a kid. It's not a full video, although I'm sure you can probably get the full video. Some young Hispanic guy and his girlfriend, he's decided to do this stunt where he's going to hold a phone book in front of his chest.
And have her shoot him?
She's going to shoot him with a pistol. And
Didn't he see Mythbusters?
And the pistol round will be stopped by the phone book. So, okay, that could be plausible depending upon the caliber of the pistol.
Yeah, sure.
All right. He selects a Desert Eagle 50 Action Express pistol, one of the most powerful handguns known to man. All right. Dirty Harry's Wildy, what was it? I think it was the 475 Wildy Magnum pistol. Would have loved to have been a 50 caliber Action Express pistol. And I haven't seen it. I believe it was she had him hold it and she shot him with it, or he shot her. I don't know. I didn't watch it. I just heard about it. I'm telling you.
I don't want to watch that.
A phone book is not going to stop a 50
no.
Action Express round.
No.
Maybe some kind of lightweight hollow point, but I bet you he grabbed the cheapest round he could get, which was Full Metal Jacket, and that's going to be armor piercing. That'd probably go through 6 phone booths. Or phone books.
Well, that's what I mean. And this is something that you're always complaining about. Like, particularly in action movies. Yeah. It's like, he's like, everybody always hides behind a car door. It's like most rounds will go right through a car door.
It'll go through 7 or 8 car doors without even slacking up, especially an assault rifle round.
So if it can go through a car door or 3, then obviously it's going to go through.
We're talking about pistol round, 50 Action Express, you know what I mean? It's not as much penetration as like an assault rifle bullet, but as far as pistol rounds go, lots of power. Lots of power. Like the upper echelons. It killed whoever was on the other side of that phone book.
I didn't
see. Dumb. If you're gonna do this stunt, why don't you bring 2 phone books and try it out first to make sure that a phone book will stop that round? I don't understand.
Yeah, you think, let's just put the phone books on the ground.
Yeah, and shoot it and see what happens. Okay. Before
we actually put our lives at risk.
Yeah, okay.
But,
ridiculous.
So, since that last one was England man, now here is a Florida man.
Okay.
This one's
I'm ready for Florida man.
Putnam County, Florida. This is very funny the way it's written.
already sounding educated to me.
Putnam County.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office provides a wide variety of services. So when Douglas Peter Kelly, 49, old enough to know better, called the office on June 12th to complain that the methamphetamine he had been sold was fake.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes,
officers happily offered to test it for him.
Yeah, right.
Sure, man. Bring it on down here. We'll check that shit out. Kelly told detectives he had suffered a violent reaction after smoking the substance and wanted to sue the dealer if he had been sold the wrong drug.
Yeah, he forgot where he was.
He arrived at the sheriff's office. He came to the sheriff's office. And handed detectives a clear crystal-like substance wrapped in aluminum foil.
Yeah.
I love... Oh, and the sheriff's office put this on their Facebook page, too, because they probably thought this was the funniest shit ever. Yeah. So they put this on the Facebook page. It field tested positive for methamphetamine. Kelly was arrested, obviously, in charge of possession of meth. Yeah, remember, our detectives are always ready to assist anyone who believes they were misled in their illegal drug purchase.
Awesome.
They said they put that on their Facebook page, helpfully.
He thought he was in Grand Theft Auto.
I guess he did.
Yeah. Call the Crustle.
If you remember last week's show.
Yeah.
He didn't even have an excuse.
No.
I love that. This is just kind of like, you remember all those like stories of, I don't know how many
Dumb
times.
motherfucker.
How many times this actually happened. It's probably just one time and they blew it out of proportion, but you know, some dumbass that was like on drugs or drunk or whatever, going through the McDonald's drive-thru and they didn't have, you know, a fish sandwich and she's calling 911 or something like that. You know, it's that kind of shit. So it's the same kind of thing. It's like, I got fake drugs and I'm going to sue them.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, just bring it on down here. And he did.
I'm a proud Florida resident myself. proud of all these men from Florida.
They just want what's coming to them, goddammit.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I love that shit.
All right. Now, this one is actually pretty horrific. This actually right here, this is one of my worst nightmares. So this woman, her name is Watiba. She's 54 years old. She disappeared on June 14th while tending her vegetable garden on Muna Island in the southeast Sulawesi province of Indonesia. Her family found only her sandals, a machete, and a flashlight in the garden. But just 50 yards away, villagers located a 23-foot-long python with a severely bloated midsection.
Don't tell me. Python eater?
Yes.
I didn't think that was possible.
They reported that when the snake's belly was cut open, it revealed the woman's fully intact body inside, still wearing all her clothes.
Damn, how tall was she? She had to have been a really small
I don't know. She might have been a really small woman. They said one of the villagers said it looked like a horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it must have.
Yeah. The thing is I don't... well, I mean, it's rude to say that, but why did they kill the snake? The snake's just doing what it does. I mean, you're not going to save her.
Well, they wanted to see if she was in there. I guess
so.
I mean, you got to find out where she went.
That was a prize snake. The sucker had to be huge.
23 feet long.
23 feet
and
long.
And swallowing a woman.
It's too late, though. I might as well just let it digest.
Ew.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I mean, you know, I see what you're saying. I like snakes. I'm not one of those people that's all like,
one that size?
Yeah.
One that size?
Stuff,
I mean,
but,
damn.
Well, I don't know.
I know that they want the body
it's
back.
Indonesia,
but you'll get the body back. You won't have to worry about burial.
Ew.
Yeah.
It's Indonesia. Then maybe they have 23-foot pythons all over the place.
Maybe.
Because I kind of feel
That's
like
amazing.
those big pythons are, I don't think they're common, but I don't think they're all that uncommon either. Although most of the ones you see pictures of on the internet and YouTube, I think are super photoshopped. But I have seen some pretty fucking big ones where the pictures look pretty real. Honestly, there's a lot of like really super unpleasant ways to die. Right in my top 5 is being swallowed by something.
Yeah, but she was dead by the time that happened.
Still.
It constricted her. She was
Suffocated.
I
know, but it's still getting eaten by a shark or a crocodile.
I saw a video of a guy in India getting killed by a snake. Did you see that thing? They didn't know how to help him. He was putting on some kind of. He was putting on some kind of snake show. He was like a sidewalk entertainer, and he had a big old, some kind of python or boa constrictor. It was a large constrictor. I would say probably about 4.5, 5 inches in diameter at its thickest. And he was putting on some kind of snake show, and it had wrapped around his neck and started to constrict. Yeah. And they thought it was part of the act. They were just watching until it was too late. And they realized that he was dead. They got the snake off of him, but he didn't revive. Yeah. Although I did not see anybody trying to resuscitate him, which I don't know how long it had been, but it may not have been that long. I'm not sure if they know about CPR in India. It looked like something down in the hood of India going on, somewhere down.
That's pretty horrible.
Down, like a Slumdog Millionaire type land,
Like you said, if it was part of a show, and
they thought it was part of the show.
Look, it's strangling me. Oh no.
Yeah, they were watching it.
Yeah, and they're like, oh wow, that looks real.
Yeah.
Because it was.
Yeah.
Hey, oh, that's horrible.
You can see that on YouTube.
No thanks.
Yeah.
There's some things it's like I kind of hear about it and I'm like, yeah, I can imagine that. I don't really need to see it because then you can't unsee it.
I don't think they really showed the whole thing from what I remember. It was just like it was a news report. The news report had pictures of them trying to get it off of him.
Yeah. I mean, I still kind of have nightmares about seeing that guy that got his arm bit off by the alligator, and the alligator was like a hand sticking out of the freaking mouth. It's like that really disturbing.
Yeah, I said we were going to have to go down to this pond over here, and I'm going to jump in there with my knife and go get an alligator and get it on video. We put it up here on the show to prove what a badass I am. You said you were not going to jump in there and grab that alligator. I said, yeah, I'll grab him.
He's probably, well, I don't
Okay,
know
no.
how many are in there, but they're probably not big.
If it's
I hear them making their little noise sometimes.
smaller
when
than
we walk by.
smaller than
It
five,
has to be pretty
smaller
small.
than 5 feet, I could probably get him out of there. I wouldn't go for anything bigger than that. You know, I've been near those 12-footers. No,
Yeah, no,
I'm not
thank
going to
you.
grab them guys. No,
No.
hell no,
No.
no.
Why on earth would you do that?
You just
Then
gotta
you're
grab
just
him.
going to be another Florida man
You
story.
got to grab him by the nose and hold his bottom.
Well, yeah, because they
Hold
can't.
his mouth shut.
Yeah, because they don't.
They can't open.
They can't open if you
Right.
just like hold. You can just hold it shut
Right,
with
as
your.
long as you keep
Not
his
like I'm
mouth-
going to do it, but
As long
I'm
as
just
you,
saying.
now they got
Pro
a
tip.
powerful tail though, so you
Yeah.
can't be in deep water. Now they'll start thrashing. I'd have to research exactly where you got to stand to bring him under control. You know, that'd be some badass shit. Put that on the show.
Yeah. Okay.
If I get hurt, even better. Even better. Get more hits.
This is like I said. You heard it here first. This is
Hold
gonna
my fucking beer.
This is hold my Keela.
Hold my kilo.
This is going to be a Florida man story waiting to
No,
happen.
no,
You heard it
I'm
here
not gonna
first.
do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not gonna do it.
All right. So the next news story, very short. This happened in Auckland, New Zealand. An unnamed 28-year-old man appeared in court June 18th to answer charges of stealing 2 human toes from the Body World's Vital exhibition.
What? What for?
I don't know.
Okay.
I actually that Body World's exhibition is pretty cool. I saw it like several years ago when it was in Tampa. It's all those people that are like peeled and they have
Yeah,
the
that was it.
plasticine.
That was in that first James Bond
Casino
movie.
Royale, yeah.
Casino Royale.
Yeah, it was that same traveling show. It traveled
Right.
all around. I saw it many years ago. But yeah, so for some reason, this guy goes to the Body World's exhibition in New Zealand and just plucks 2 toes off them. He's like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to put these in my pocket.
Maybe thought he could ransom them back.
Who knows? But, he got caught for, I don't know how. The toes evidently were valued at $5,500 each.
Well, there you go.
But they have been returned to the exhibition. And the toe thief is looking at 7 years in prison.
Dumbass.
And 2 years for interfering with a dead body.
Dumbass.
So I'm
I
like,
can't-
yeah, those are human remains, even though...
Certain guys just don't think it through. You know what I mean? They don't think it through.
most
Yeah.
guys don't think it through.
You must consider the legal penalties for your actions.
The world would be a better place if more people did that. I feel like more people need
Some
to
things
take
are
that
avoidable,
advice.
though. Some things are avoidable.
Well,
I mean,
stealing 2 toes off a plastinated plaster
yeah, that's
whatever
not
body.
heat of passion. That's not heat of passion or heat of the moment type of thing.
That's
It's
just
not
like a very specific weird crime, and
you're
why
not,
do you need to do
You're
that?
not in a pissing match with another man that's going to drive you to insanity, by some kind of fight or anything like that. That's just you're sitting there and you're looking at some toes going, I'm going to take those. I don't understand that. I'm going to steal those toes. What the fuck? What do you fucking think? I don't get it, man.
I don't either.
I just that's not going to cross my mind that I see some toes and
Now it is.
I'm going to steal them fuckers. You know what I mean? When's that going to come across your mind?
I don't know. Other people's minds are a mystery to me. They really are. Why would
And
you
this was
even
in
think
New Zealand?
Yeah.
Damn, I thought we had crazy people.
There's crazy people everywhere.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
crazy people everywhere. It's not just our affliction.
Yeah, I guess so.
I just think we just have more of them. All right. So now let's get into talking about Israel Keys.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. You first started telling me about this case when we were out doing our walks.
Yeah, like I said, this is something that's been requested a lot of times. And from all the research I've been doing into it, there's several documentaries about it. I was on, the Web Sleuths forum. And apparently there's really a lot of interest in this case. Maybe, I guess because it's fairly recent, but also because it's kind of weird because it almost happened, the way that he was discovered, it almost happened like in reverse.
Okay.
Because usually, you have, when there's a serial killer, you have a bunch of interrelated victims, and somebody's like, okay, well, the same person is killing all these people, and then eventually that person gets caught or not,
Right.
but they generally know that it's, that it's going on. So they're like, this is the signature of this killer or whatever.
Yeah.
But in this case, apparently, this guy had been killing people for, they think, 14 years, and no one knew anything.
Damn.
It just so
He was
happened...
kind of like an under-the-radar serial killer. He was like a stealth serial killer. They didn't even know he existed.
They didn't even know he existed because he traveled around so much. No bodies were found.
He's a ninja.
Yeah, it was
Right.
kind of like that.
You're right.
That's kind of the most fascinating thing about this. So the problem becomes that when he eventually got caught, they could only pin 3 murders on him.
Right.
But from all these interviews and stuff like that, he hinted that there were at least 7, 8 more, maybe as many as 12 more, but he wouldn't say who they were, where they were, or anything. And then he killed himself. So now there's huge, I mean, like I said, I went on the Web Sleuths thing. There's huge forums where people are trying to track down his movements during all this 14-year period. Like, where was he? Were there missing persons cases in the area that could have been like him taking a victim and shit like that? Right. It's just like this creepy case. He's really unlike pretty much any other serial killer I've ever read about. All right. There's just something about him. He's the fucking worst. I mean, they're all bad. Yeah. But this guy just seemed like, I mean, not only he was one of those I'm leading a double life motherfuckers. Right. And like he seemed totally normal and shit. Yeah. But then he was doing all this shit on the side. Although I watched some of the interviews, like if you go on YouTube, there's hours and hours and hours and hours of like the FBI interviews with him, over the months, like after his capture. And even though pretty much everybody that knew him like said, oh, he was kind of a likable guy and he seemed totally normal and stuff like that. To me, he seemed a little smarmy. He seemed a little, he seemed like an edgelord, to be honest. He seemed kind of like, I'm smarter than everybody and I'm in control of everything. And he was just very, I'm so evil and all this other kind of shit. So, and I hate people like that. So, he came across very much like that to me. Like, that obviously wasn't his natural environment because he was, under arrest and everything. But, that's how he was. So I can't really see how people thought he was likable, but, I'm willing to give other people the benefit of the doubt. So what I wanted to do, like, I kind of thought about, well, how am I going to talk about him? How am I going to do, like, a timeline? I think what I was going to do, I was going to go back and talk about shit, like, from the beginning, but I think what I'm going to do is structure it the same way that people found out about it. Like, the crime he got caught for. Because, like I said, nobody knew until he got caught for this one crime, and then they found out about all these other ones. Right.
Before we go to the break, though, I know you were talking about how he was kind of like an edgelord, and he was a dick. Really, out of all these serial killers that we've covered so far, and all the ones I can think of off the top of my head, I wasn't afraid of any of these guys. None of those guys scared me on a personal level. There's only one dude that scared me, like when I hear him talk, when I hear him talking. And that's Kuklinski, the Iceman. And he was a mafia hitman. And what really scared me about that guy was just his cold professional. He did that shit for a living. Yeah. And that's the only guy that really kind of like, when you hear him talking, you know that, he could kill you.
Well, in some ways, I think this guy had a similar vibe because he didn't have a particular reason. He didn't have a particular victim profile. He just wanted to kill people because he liked it. And he didn't particularly care who it was. He didn't care if he particularly got anything out of it. He just liked to do it. Yeah. And he, would go all over the country and go through all these like really elaborate setup to do it just because he enjoyed it. That's pretty much the only reason he ever gave. I think when they asked him, because the FBI guy, I saw like an interview with one of the FBI guys who had interviewed him. And he said, at one point we were just like, why? Why did you do it? Yeah. And all he said was, why not? Yeah. He did not give a single shit.
I almost see that as a weakness, though, in a way. You know what I mean? It's almost like he has these perverted urges, and he can't resist them. Kuklinski wasn't like that. Kuklinski killed you because he was hired to kill you. You were a gangster, you did something wrong, he was hired to kill you, he'd take you out. Or you made him mad. There was just something, to me, this the only one that intimidated me just through interviews was Kuklinski. Meeting a guy like that, I'd have to really work hard to keep my balance around him. You know what I'm talking about?
Kiss his ass?
No, I'd be as polite as I could. Be polite as respectful as I could.
Yeah. Although, like I said, I think the creepy thing about Israel Keyes was that, like I said, for years and years, he just lived a completely normal life. He had a business. He had a girlfriend. He had a daughter. Nobody had any fucking clue about anything. Yeah. And he looked normal. He acted normal. But you never knew, like, when... Yeah. And he picked people totally at random. Right. Didn't have anything to do with them, what they looked like, it just didn't matter. So, in a way, like I said, he's interesting from that point of view, like, just from a criminal profiler point of view, because he's kind of different to a lot of the other ones. Like, his motivations seemed kind of different. So I'm kind of glad that he got requested because I don't know if I would have necessarily done a show about him if somebody hadn't recommended it. But I'm actually now I'm kind of all into it and I want to kind of help solve like all these other crimes that he probably committed.
Well, should we go ahead and take a break? When you come back, you can lay it out?
Yeah, let's do that because we're getting about to the halfway point. Okay. So we're going to take a break right now. I'm going to refill my drink and then we will come back and get into the case of Serial Killer Israel Keys. We'll be back in just a minute.
Okay, everybody. Jenny's got some new shirt designs up. 4 of them. Really good ones, too. Atlanta Ripper, Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm, the H.H. Holmes Murder Castle, and, of course, Demon Child, because man said he could. These are updated designs. I think they look really cool. Jenny did a great job on them. Were they fun making, Jenny?
They were very fun, and thank you very much. I think they came out very good.
Yeah, they get really good. They're very high-quality shirts. Jenny and I wear our own shirts at certain times when we're trying to put a spotlight on ourselves, and you can put a spotlight on yourselves. If you go ahead and pick up one of these shirts today, you guys are going to love them. Links in the description, www.zazzle.com at 13 o'clock.
Yeah, so go check out our store at www.zazzle.com/13o'clock. We got these 4 cool new t-shirt designs, plus all our old ones if you'd rather get one of the old ones. But these ones are awesome, and you should check them out.
They're also available in women's cut, and they look really cute. Jenny's got some.
So thank you. Go check them out. All right, so let's get into talking about this. Like I said, I kind of want to start at the end, I suppose, because I want to start with the crime that got him caught. Now, I should note that the only reason that we know about him at all as a serial killer is because of this particular crime, and the only reason we know about this particular crime is because he had started to get sloppy.
Yeah.
Prior to this, he was very under the radar because he had rules. He was always like, I'm going to go somewhere thousands of miles away from where I live.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick somebody at random out in the woods. I'm just going to kill them and dump them in a lake somewhere. No one's ever going to find them. So no one's ever going to know they were even murdered.
Right.
So he was doing that apparently for a very long time. But for whatever reason, I guess because, like I said, he seemed very much like a thrill killer.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like he was getting to the point where he just wanted to get more and more ballsy because he wasn't getting the rush that he used to get anymore. Yeah. So he wanted to do something more brazen, I suppose. So this happened in Anchorage, Alaska. Now, he was actually living there at the time, which is something he normally would not do. He normally wouldn't commit a crime anywhere near where he lived. So that was kind of the first thing. He had lived in Alaska for quite a while. He had a girlfriend named Kimberly Andrews. He had a daughter, I believe it was from a previous relationship. The daughter was 10 or 11, and this happened in 2012. So the daughter was 10 or 11 at the time. They had a house, which was totally normal. He had a contracting company. He built houses, did handyman work. He was apparently very well respected, made a lot of money. So, no one thought anything was amiss. So this happened in February 2012 in Anchorage. There was a roadside coffee kiosk, little coffee stand called Common Grounds.
That's a great name for a coffee shop, isn't it? Common Grounds.
Well, a lot of them are named that.
Are they?
Yeah. It's funny because coffee shops and hairdressing salons, they always have to have pun names, I feel like.
All right. It's the first time I've ever heard of it.
Really? There's a lot named that.
Okay.
But yeah, so working in this coffee stand, it was an 18-year-old girl named Samantha Koenig. And she's closing up the store at about 8 p.m. And it's February, so it's like there's a bunch of snow. It's like, it's Alaska. It's freezing cold. And a guy walks up to the coffee stand. Now, he has a ski mask on, but it's Alaska in February. So, everybody's got a ski mask on. Right. So it's not, if she was not alarmed. The guy asked for an Americano. She turns around to make it. Now, I should say, if you want to check this out on YouTube, it's a little disturbing to watch. There is actually security cam footage of all this, of her abduction. So I've seen it. It's creepy if you know what happened to her later. Right. But, I don't really know if I want to put it in the video or anything. But it's on YouTube if you want to see. It's about 12 minutes long. So she turns around to make the drink, and then she turns around and says, however much money it is. And then he's pointing a gun at her. Then he tells her to turn off the lights. He tells her to take all the money out of the cash register. And then he tells her to sit down on the floor of the kiosk. And he's kind of looking around because there's cars. There's like a Home Depot or some shit like across the street. And there's still cars over. It's only 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
It's like a Wednesday night or something. So he looks around and then he jumps in through the serving window and he binds her hands with zip ties. Now, he takes her out of the kiosk and puts her in his car, takes her back to his house, which is apparently not that far away, puts her in a shed near his house, and then he realizes, oh, I left a bunch of zip ties that have my fingerprints on them, and I left her cell phone at the coffee kiosk. So he drives back to the kiosk.
Damn.
And he kind of scopes it out, makes sure the cops aren't there. I mean, it hasn't been that long.
Right.
It was a case where, she'd been at work, her boyfriend was going to come pick her up, but it hadn't been so much time that it'd be like, where the hell is she? You know what I mean?
Right.
So he actually, which was kind of ballsy, like I said, he drove back to the place, he got the zip ties, he got the cell phone, and then he goes back to the shed. Now, I guess I'll say this right away, because there was some shit later on where they thought she might still be alive for a really long time that he encouraged, I should say.
Right.
But basically, he raped and strangled her an hour or two after he brought her to the thing. Now, he leaves her body in the shed. Later that day, or the very next day, he had already booked a cruise. I think him and his daughter were going on a cruise.
Damn.
And he had booked it before, and he was going to be gone for like 2 weeks or something.
How old was he when he did this?
34.
Okay. And how old was his daughter?
10 or 11.
Okay.
I don't think his girlfriend went. It seemed like some of the reenactments I saw, it looked like he took his daughter with him. I'm not sure, but he had booked a vacation. So he had been planning to kill this girl.
Right.
Leave it, and then I'm going to go on vacation for 2 weeks, whatever. So then he comes back from this vacation. In the meantime, this poor girl has been reported missing. Nobody has any idea where she is. It's this little town. There's like flyers everywhere. Her family is freaking out. And then he decides, oh, well, I guess I'm going to get some money out of this shit. Now, he might have been planning this from the beginning. I'm not really sure.
Right.
So he has her cell phone. So he sends a text from her phone to either her parents or her boyfriend, sources differ, and say, I want $30,000 for her return. He's leaves the ransom note. He's like, I'll leave the ransom note like in this park underneath this flyer or whatever. And then he takes a picture of her body. Yeah. But he props her up against the wall and sews her eyelids open so it looks like she's still alive.
Now, how long? Now, it's wintertime, and she'd been dead in the shed for a while.
In a couple of weeks, yeah.
So she must have been kind of frozen.
Yeah.
So that's why she's preserved.
Yeah.
Man,
because in the picture, you would not... I've seen the picture.
You've seen the picture? She doesn't look dead?
No. I mean,
Weird.
It's a crappy picture. It's like, it's blurry and stuff, but it doesn't look like a dead person.
Wow. That's really creepy.
And he took a picture of her, and then like a newspaper from like a day. So he's like, see, she's still alive on this date or whatever. So he was trying. So he sends that over to the cell phone.
And her eyes are open. You can see it. It looks like, man.
Isn't that horrible?
Who would have known?
Yeah. And like I said, I saw the picture. I'm like, oh my God, she's dead.
And she'd been dead for a week or something.
Yeah, but you couldn't tell though, not from the picture. Not from the one I saw. So the parents are like, oh, all right, she's still alive. Now, the parents did not have $30,000, but they very quickly made a public appeal. They got the money. Now, Israel Keys says deposit the money in her account, but he has her ATM card, and before he killed her, he got her to tell him the PIN number. Right. So, he can access this money now. Right. Here's where he got stupid. Well, the first thing that was stupid was that he attacked somebody in the town he lived in, which he had never done before. Right. 2, he didn't check the coffee kiosk for security cameras. I mean, you couldn't see him because he had a mask on and he was just like a shadow. There were no lights in the thing.
He probably didn't care.
So he might not have cared because he's like, oh, they won't see me or whatever.
You would think that they could identify him by his clothing, his build. If he's from that town.
Yeah,
his relatives would go, I know that.
I mean, he wasn't a native of there.
Okay.
He actually came from Utah, and then he lived in Washington State for a long time. Then he moved to Alaska like in 2007 or something. 2007 or 2009. So he hadn't lived there his whole life. The other stupid thing he did was that after that, he started making withdrawals from her account. At this point, like I said, the police and her family were still kind of thinking she was still alive. They're like, oh, she's taking money out, and maybe they're still together. But then as the weeks went on, they're like, okay, she's probably dead. And whoever this is taking money out of her account. So at this point, they're like, okay, so they have it pinged up where every time somebody withdraws money from that account, they know where it is.
And there's no cameras where he's drawing? Because usually
there are. Yeah, I was going to get to that. But so he starts traveling. So they get him in like New Mexico. And then finally he ends up in this town called Lufkin, Texas. What ended up happening there was that when he got to Texas and he was taking money out of the ATM, he had a mask on at the ATM because he knows there's a camera on the ATM, right?
Right.
But you could see his rental car in the background. And it was I believe it was a white Ford Focus. So at that point, they put out a bolo, which would be on the lookout. They're like, for a big 6'2" white dude in a rental white Ford Focus.
Right.
And he's from Alaska, so if you pull him over and he has like an Alaskan driver's license, then you'll know who this is. So they didn't know who he was at this point. They just knew this is the person that's taking money out of this missing girl's account. So a guy, a patrol cop in Lufkin, Texas, sees a white Ford Focus and sees a big white guy driving it. And as soon as that guy goes a little bit over the speed limit, he's like, I'm pulling that bitch over. So he pulled him over. Inside the car is Samantha Koenig's stolen debit card, her cell phone with the battery removed, and rolls of cash. Now, at this point, they can't charge him with anything except access device fraud, which is taking money out of someone else's account without their permission because they don't know where she is. They don't know if she's still alive or whatever. So they arrest him for that, and they extradite him back to Alaska. Now, while they have him in custody, they're just like, well, where is she? Just tell us where she is. Mm-hmm. And then he says, well, she's dead. I killed her. And then they're like, well, where is she? Where's her body? So they finally got him to tell them that after, he had taken the picture of the body and everything, he had basically gone out to this lake. I think it's called Lake Manatuska or something like that, like up north of Anchorage. And he had pretended he was ice fishing. Like he had built a little shelter and everything like you do when you're ice fishing. He had cut up her body and dropped it into the lake. He remembered the exact coordinates where he had dumped the body because the cops went there and found it, like within a couple of hours. Now, it should be noted that this is the only body of any of his victims that has ever been found. They know that there's more, but they don't know where they are, and they don't know how to find them. Samantha Koenig was found. So after that whole thing, the FBI are interviewing this jackhole, and the way he's talking, they're kind of like, okay, there's more to this. This is not the first time that this guy has done this. Then the guy's like, okay, well, you got me, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, I'll tell you what. I'll start telling you some things if you make things go the way I want. Now, he made a very weird request. He basically said, I want the death penalty within a year. That's what he said.
He's trying to get out of there.
Yeah. So he's like, I want this over with as quickly as possible. He seemed like he was concerned about his image in the sense that he didn't want his daughter growing up and Googling him and then seeing all this shit that's attributed to her dad.
You should have thought of that before you did it.
That's what I said. I was like, why didn't you think of that before you did any of this crap, you fucking asshole? You know what I mean? It's like, I was like, whatever. They never do that, though. They're just like, they're always...
It's all about him. I don't want to look bad.
Yeah, it was basically that. Because he even said, because like I said, I've seen like a bunch of interview snippets with him, and he's even saying, he's like, oh, the more stuff that gets attributed to me, the more they're going to make one of those stupid TV shows about me.
Like, I can't understand it. You're going to go ahead and do all this shit, and you're not going to, and you don't want to look bad. I mean, if you're going to do this, man, you better own it.
Well, that was another thing that was kind of weird about this guy.
You need to think this through before you do it.
Is that, I mean, particularly previously to Samantha Koenig's murder, it seemed like, you know how a lot of serial killers seem to have this need for attention and like a need for self-aggrandizement. Yeah. And like some of them will even like confess to shit they didn't even do.
Right, yeah.
Just to like make themselves like a bigger, badder.
Yeah. I think Albert Fish actually made some of his crimes up.
Yeah, a lot of them do. They conflate, they would, they kind of confabulate to make themselves look more evil, more scary. This guy almost seemed like he didn't want that.
Weird.
Like, he wanted to kill people,
he didn't want anybody
but he didn't want anybody to know. Like, he didn't want to be associated with
Only he mattered. Other people didn't matter. He wasn't trying to impress them.
Yeah, well,
trying to go underneath the radar.
And he said exactly that.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He said exactly that. Okay. He said that was his thing. I just wanted to kill people and get away with it. Right. He didn't really care about being famous.
Right, yeah.
He specifically said, I don't want any of those stupid bullshit true crime shows made about me. I'm like, tough shit, buddy.
Here we go. Doing it right now, bro. What are you going to do now?
Well, and like I said, there have been a bunch of them, too. Like Dark Minds did one, and a British show did one and stuff. That's what's weird. It's like his motivation was almost like, and in fact, like a lot of his early crimes that they think that he committed, he didn't even, like some of them are not even, they don't know where the bodies are. They're they're either missing persons cases or nobody even knows that there was a crime committed.
So what happened next? I mean, he's in there.
So he goes in there and he says, okay, I want the death penalty within a year, and I will give you a couple things. So it seemed like he was having this power play where I'm going to get what I want and I'll just feed you a little bit of information at a time, because he knew that if he didn't tell them any of this shit, they would never find out.
Right.
And they still haven't, so I guess he was right. So he said, well, I'll give you 2 bodies. He said, the Courier case, Vermont. Look that up. So they did. So they call Vermont and they're like, do you have an unsolved murder of somebody called the Couriers? And they're like, yes, we do. They're like, it's not an unsolved murder, it's missing persons.
Right.
And they're like, what happened with these 2? And this is like super creepy. This happened in June 2011, and it was in this little town called Essex Junction, Vermont. Evidently, what Israel Keyes had done, at some point in about 2009, he had been driving around in Vermont because he did all these kind of trips. He didn't kill people on every trip, they don't think.
Right.
But he would go sometimes years ahead and he would see a good location. He's like, oh, maybe one day in the future I'm going to get a victim from there, so I'm going to get ready.
Right.
So in 2009, about 2 miles away from these people's house, he had buried a 5-gallon bucket, and it had guns in it. It had rope, duct tape, Drano, which is something that he used to make bodies decompose faster, a roll of cash. So he called them kill kits or murder kits.
Right.
And he would bury them like out in the woods, somewhere near where the location was. So when he decided to come back and kill the people in that area, he would have it there so he didn't have to transport it a long way. So evidently he had one there that had been there since 2009. In 2011, he actually flew to Chicago under his own name. He bought tickets under his own name. He rented a car in Chicago. He drove the 1,000 miles to Vermont. He went to these people's house, Bill and Lorraine Courier. Bill was 49 and Lorraine was 55. They had lived there, a long time. It was just a really nice little house. He said the only reason that he picked that house was because it was a small town. It looked like you could get into the house through the garage. He could tell where the master bedroom was, and they didn't have any children or a dog. He said that was the only reason.
Right.
So basically in the middle of the night, he breaks a window very quietly in the garage and he goes through to the house and he just goes up to their room, wakes them up with a gun, makes them turn over, binds their hand with zip ties, and he's like, get in your car, we're going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. They both get in their car. He drives them to this abandoned farmhouse that he had, scoped out earlier. He takes the guy down to the basement and ties him to a chair or a stool, and then he goes out to get Lorraine. Now, some sources say that Lorraine actually kind of ran away,
right?
Or kind of tried to get away, and then he caught her and dragged her back. But some sources, some documentaries didn't mention that, some did, so I don't know. But he actually did catch her, and when he was bringing her inside, he brought her inside and raped her. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, her husband had gotten loose down in the basement. Now, he came down there, and the guy was loose, and he kind of started yelling at him and jumping at him. So Keyes picked up a shovel and just whacked him in the head and then shot the husband right in front of the woman, and then he strangled her to death. Then he kind of wrapped the bodies in plastic and then poured Drano on them and then just left them there.
Right.
So nobody knew what had happened to these people because it looked like in their house, all they found was a broken window.
Right.
Their gun was missing because he had taken it. Nothing else was really stolen, I don't think. He hadn't ransacked it or anything. Nothing else appeared disturbed, so it just looked like this couple had just up and vanished. Their car was gone and all this other shit. So they didn't know what had happened to them for all this time.
Now the barn, whose barn was this? It was abandoned?
It was abandoned. It was for sale.
Okay.
He's like, it was old and it was for sale. He had seen it on another run through the town.
Right, so the people, nobody really owned it or was in transition, so nobody noticed anything odd.
Yeah. Actually,
what exactly did he do with the bodies? Did you say?
He just left them.
Just left them?
Yeah, he just left them in the basement of this abandoned farmhouse. And then he just took off. But like I said, nobody knew where they were. Now, by the time he told the FBI about what had happened to them, about what he had done, they called, when they called Vermont and they said, okay, well, we're going to go. He told them exactly where that farmhouse was.
Right.
But by the time the investigators got there, the farmhouse had been torn down.
They didn't notice anything?
It was all gone. Now, we'll see, they said, when they went back and asked the people that had torn down the thing, they said, oh, we did smell something bad, but we just thought it was deer. It was hunting country.
Right, yeah.
So they just figured it was deer carcasses or something like that.
Yeah.
They weren't really concerned about it. So they just kind of scooped the whole thing up and took it to the landfill. They actually did spend 7 weeks going through the landfill, but they couldn't find anything.
Okay, so the bodies were not
So
there.
the
they
bodies
were
were never found.
Huh.
But he knew so many specific details about the crime that they knew that had to be what had happened to them, because he knew the layout of the house, he knew exactly, and everything like checked out. So those are the only 3 crimes. So Samantha Koenig, they know that was him, and then the Couriers.
It's amazing how a murder, a double homicide like that can go undiscovered and just accidentally lost just because.
Well, and like I said, they knew they were gone, and that was weird because they said that was unusual for them to just take off like that.
But then they dismantle, they tear down the barn, and they don't even check where the smell is coming from.
Well, it had been.
How long had it been?
Well, he was caught in March 2012, so it was like more than a year later.
It shouldn't have been smelling a year later.
Well, I don't know when it was torn down. Like, I don't know. It was torn down at some point in between there. So then, and like I said, this is the shitty thing and why this guy was such a fucking taint, because...
The taint.
Well, because he gave them the Couriers.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I did that.
Yeah.
Because he knew they had him anyway.
Right.
And that was a maneuver to get the death penalty within a year. He's like, I want it within a year. Which, that never happens. What are they talking about? And honestly, he got arrested in Alaska. They didn't have the death penalty in Alaska. They do in Washington State. So I think maybe he might have been wanting to get extradited to Washington State. But here's the thing. He wouldn't tell investigators enough. Like, he told them enough for them to figure that he probably did, like I said, at least 7 more, probably more than that. But there's nothing specific enough.
He was just teasing them with...
He was pretty much just teasing them. Now, they do think that one of the ones, they're not absolutely certain about this one, but there was a missing persons case that took place in April of 2009. And this was a woman, I think she was 50. Her name was Deborah Feldman, and she lived in New Jersey. She was kind of a drug addict, a prostitute.
Yeah.
Now, she went missing in April 2009, and they think that Israel Keyes, from clues that he said when he was being interviewed, that he probably kidnapped her and drove her to upstate New York, raped and killed her, and then probably dropped her in a lake. Because he was into that. He liked to...
Put them in lakes?
Put them in lakes. He mentioned something, too, about Crescent Lake in Washington. So they think there might be some bodies in there, but it's too deep and too cold to check, which he knew because he said that in the interview. He also... so they think that he probably killed Deborah Feldman also because he was in the area. And they know that he was in the area because the day after she went missing, he robbed a bank in a village right by there. And that's another thing, too. That was another way that he funded his kill trips.
Robbing banks.
He robbed banks. They have footage of him robbing 2 banks. They didn't know it was him because he wore a disguise. But after he told them, he robbed a bank in Tupper Lake, like kind of a small town in upstate New York. And then they found the footage.
So did he ever really come out with a definitive number?
No. That's what I mean. To this day, they don't know.
He said he was going to give him 2
2 bodies. The Couriers.
Okay.
Bill and Lorraine Courier.
So it wasn't 2 cases. It was
he said 2 bodies.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 2 bodies.
And did he say he had more?
Yes. Well, because they asked him, they said...
why did he stop negotiating?
Because he liked having power over them, that he had information they didn't have. One of his things, this was kind of interesting from a psychological point of view, because I was just like watching him talk and listening to the stuff he was saying. He seemed to get off on, and I think this kind of ties in with the whole, he didn't really want self-aggrandizement. He didn't want the media knowing about him, because he said that after he killed the Couriers, and this was, like a year before he got caught, they're like, he's like, I would go to the library, because he didn't want to use his own computer, because they can check, like, your Google search and stuff like that. So he's like, I would go to the library and look at the Vermont news, because he was in Alaska, and see how they were going with the case, and I'd kind of chuckle, because they didn't have any idea that it was me. So he kind of got off on knowing something that nobody else knew.
Right.
Because that was something that he said a lot, that nobody knew me. Like, nobody knew the real me. Nobody ever saw this side of me. Actually, Dark Minds, the true crime series, they actually did a 2-hour special on this dude, right? And they were interviewing a guy who had hired Israel Keyes, like, to do, he just, like, built an extension on his house or something like that. He'd been, like, working for 6 months. He's like, this was the fucking craziest thing. He's like, I couldn't believe it. He's like, I knew this guy, like, he was totally nice.
Yeah.
It's like he turned up every morning. He was totally normal. It's like he was a very hard worker. His work was very good. It was like really beautiful. It's like he was very focused. He was very, you know what I mean? He, like I said, he had a girlfriend. She had no idea. He had a daughter. Had no idea.
Yeah.
Everybody thought he was completely normal. But that was kind of part of his little power play, was that nobody knows that I fly out to all these remote locations like hiking trails and just kill people for no reason and then dump them in a lake and nobody even knows it was me. They're just missing persons cases.
Was there anything about his early background that maybe kind of like created this situation?
Yeah, there's kind of, okay, this is like there's a lot of weird shit going on with this. He was actually born in Utah to a very large Mormon family. He had 8 or 9 brothers and sisters, maybe just sisters. So it was a very big family. He was homeschooled.
Yeah.
It was a very, very, very strict upbringing, which happens a lot with serial killers, I've noticed. Then they moved to like eastern Washington state, which is kind of like a real kind of rednecky kind of area.
Yeah.
They actually lived next door to this rather infamous family called the Kehoe family, who were in this weird like Christian white supremacy cult.
Okay.
He was kind of buddies with a couple of them. They were later convicted of like murdering a whole family and dumping them in a swamp or some shit.
It's getting dark and they're letting off fireworks.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So, so there was that whole dynamic. He did actually come forward and say that he rejected religion. So he was very much, the Dark Minds documentary said that he actually had a brand of an upside down cross and a pentagram. So I was like, oh, he's one of those. That's why I mean edgelord. He's kind of like,
right.
So he was kind of like trying to rebel against his religious background, I guess, because he claimed he was an atheist, but I was like, he sounded like he wanted to be like, I'm so badass, it was that kind of thing. This was not like a real atheist. He was just kind of like you know what I mean? He was just kind of like, I just want to like piss people off type of thing.
That was really subversive where he came from.
I guess that's exactly what it is. He wanted to seem like he was super subversive. He just wanted to go the other direction. Now, he told a story to the FBI that when he was a teenager, I want to say 14, 15, that, he had always hunted. He was a very outdoorsy guy. He was in the military later on. I'll kind of talk about that in a second. He would go out in the woods and build cabins and shit like that. But he evidently took a cat that their family had that kept getting in the garbage can. He took it out in the woods with his friends and he tied it to a tree and shot it in the stomach.
Damn.
And then watched it while it was like running around the tree like dying.
Ridiculous.
And he thought it was funny. And then he said that he turned around and his friend that was with him was like throwing up and like was like obviously upset like a normal person would be.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, that's when I realized that, stuff that I thought was okay was not okay.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Did you? I mean, you know what I mean? But so he just seemed very sociopathic, even though he did seem to love his daughter. I mean, nobody ever thought that would love his girlfriend. Nobody thought there was anything going on there.
I don't really buy into that. Most of those sociopaths love their daughter and love their girlfriends because it's a reflection on them. If they don't, then they'll look like shitheels.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
It could have been that too, yeah.
They're just trying to show other people, that they're good.
Yeah.
It's just, to make their image seem better.
Yeah, so he was in the military for a little while, 3 or 4 years. He was at Fort Hood, he was at Fort Lewis, and he did some time on Sinai in Egypt.
Yeah.
Also, like,
I know, just
like you do, yeah.
Yep. He was
just
on
like
the NFO.
Yeah.
So he must have been infantry.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And actually, he got some awards and stuff like that. He didn't see any combat or anything. I think he was in from 98 to 2001, I want to say.
After I was in.
Yeah, he's a bit younger. He was 34 when he got caught in 2012. But it's interesting because evidently he said he couldn't wait to get out of the military. He liked the military. He wanted to go into the military, but he said he couldn't wait to get out and start killing people. That's what he said. So the first crime that he actually admits to, he said it happened in 97 or 98. And he said that he was in Oregon and he was watching a group of teenage girls like inner tubing down the Deschutes River, and that one of them was kind of slower than the others, so he grabbed her and raped her, and he was actually going to kill her, but then he couldn't quite go through with it, so he let her go. Now, she never reported it, so they don't know who that is, and he wouldn't tell the investigators her name. So they don't know who that victim is, but that's the first crime that he would admit to.
He may have lied, though.
But yeah, he might have made that up. Now, the thing about it is that the FBI are kind of thinking the pattern, the modus operandi, they're like, this is a guy that has killed before, obviously. So like I said, they know that he killed Samantha Koenig. They know that he killed the Couriers. They're pretty sure he killed Deborah Feldman. They think that he committed at least 4 murders in Washington state, and they think there are probably many more. Now, on the Dark Minds documentary, there was this girl, I can't remember what her name was. It was Molly Kalinsky, I think was her name. She was a writer, and she had made this big map of the United States. And she had made like a timeline of where Israel Keyes had been, and they knew where he was because of, flight records, rental car records. So she had made this map, and it's like, I can tell that he flew into this city on this date, and his rental car had 2,000 miles on it, so this is the range.
Yeah.
So what people are trying to do now, and if you go on the Web Sleuths forum, if you go on several different, I think even the FBI website might have this on it, but it has a timeline of where he was, where he could have gone, because he would fly into a city and then he would drive like 1,000, 2,000 miles to somewhere else. And he would always use cash. He would take the battery out of his cell phone so nobody would know. And he would usually pick hiking trails, kind of remote, like shit out in the woods, like in Washington State. And he didn't have a particular victim profile. He didn't really care if it was a man, if it was a woman. It was just whoever happened by.
Yeah.
He just wanted to kill somebody. He's like, sometimes it was a man, sometimes a woman, sometimes it wasn't what you wanted, but it
just
didn't
a thrill
matter.
killer.
Yeah, he was just a thrill killer, so it didn't matter. It was just, he was a situational killer. It was just whoever happened to, kind of walk through his little trap that he had set or whatever. So now what they're trying to do is kind of get the public's help. They're like, here's the range where he was at a particular time. This is the type of rental car he was driving. And if there are any missing persons cases from those areas from that time period and they don't know what happened to them, particularly if they were out hiking or if they disappeared from a remote area and no one ever heard from them ever again, they think that it's very, very likely that he might have had something to do with it. So it could be because he said something about nobody ever knew the real me. I've always been 2 people. So the FBI guy is like, well, how long have you been 2 people? And he says 14 years. So he's been doing this shit for 14 years. I mean, he's dead now, thank heavens. But so if he did it for 14 years, how many people? They know he killed 3 people for sure. They're pretty sure he killed at least 7 more. But I think there were probably way more than that, particularly because he traveled a lot. Do a Google search on Israel Keyes timelines. And on Web Sleuths, there's like somebody has put up a whole thing, like exactly where he was, exactly what kind of car he was driving, when it was, like for the 14 years where he said. Yeah. So I find it hard to believe. Now, sometimes he would go and just bury one of his murder kits that he was going to use later. Right. So maybe not every time he traveled, maybe he didn't kill somebody, but maybe half the times, and that's a lot of times, because he was always traveling. And like I said, he robbed banks to get money. He actually made a pretty good living as a contractor. So he would just go on these little quote-unquote vacations.
That's amazing that you can rob banks with a regularity and get away with it.
I mean, I don't think he did it. But like I said, he was pulling the same shit like he was pulling with the murders. Right. He would fly to a city, rent a car, drive to another city way far away. He would wear a disguise, rob a bank, and then leave. He'd be the fuck out of there. He's not from there. He's not connected to that area. He would just drive to random places.
Just getting away from the scene of the crime, though. Tough.
It is, yeah. But he did get away with it. I think he robbed at least 4 banks that they know of.
Well, that's not very many.
Well, he might have done more. And they were all in different states. He did one in New York. He did one in Texas. He did one, I want to say New Mexico, maybe. But, he did a bunch of those, too. He was also an arsonist, as if his shit wasn't bad enough. And he did actually say that he had set this one place on fire. But it seems like the whole time, and you could see that the FBI was like so frustrated because they knew that there was all this information, and he had all this information clearly, but he would not tell them. And then they were like, we can't they're trying to do the death penalty in a year and stuff like that, and they couldn't do it. Right. So then he was only in custody. I think they arrested him in March 2012. In December 2012, he slit his wrists and hung himself with a bedsheet. Yeah. They just found him dead in a cell. Yeah, he just wanted out. So, and he even said in the interviews, he's like, if you can't do, the death penalty in the time, he's like, I don't need you guys. Right, he even said that. And then he kind of laughed. Like, I don't need you guys to do it. Yeah. So now he's dead, and all of these people that he killed, and I'm sure he killed a lot. Yeah. they might never get found.
It could be. It could be he's got quite a body count out there. But then on the other hand, he may have been lying.
True.
There's no way of knowing. You're just going to have to wait and see.
But the thing is, it's like I said, if he wasn't going to inflate his numbers and tell everybody, "Oh, I did this, that, and the other,"
right?
Why would he lie?
I would think that he'd want to cash in, but like you said, he's a different kind of offender, or at least he purported himself to be. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah,
too early. You just got to figure it out on their own.
So I'm like super into this now, and now I'm kind of like, look, because he actually was in Florida at one point. He came.
Well, we can always revisit it if
he came to Orlando for a vacation. At one point.
How long was he here?
Not that long. It was only like a week or something. But
that's
long enough.
That's long enough.
Yeah.
Was he alone or was he with his family?
I don't think he ever brought his family.
Okay.
I think on that one cruise that he went, like I said, the one documentary that I saw where he went on that cruise right after he killed Samantha, I think he took his daughter, but maybe not. I thought, but I don't think but his girlfriend and his daughter didn't really seem to suspect anything. And all I can say now, like, I'm happy. I mean, I'm sure you can find it because it's the internet. But I'm happy that most things that talk about him, like everything I've read about him, they do not name his daughter. And I kind of hope, I mean, that poor child, she can only be, she's probably only 16 or 17 now. So it's like, God damn, if I would move, I would change my name. Holy shit. God, that's got to be awful. So I feel bad for her. I mean, the girlfriend has been named, but she has a very common name, so she'll be all right, hopefully. But, they didn't have anything to do with it. They didn't know what the fucker was doing. But yeah, this dude, man,
Was there anything else?
What a piece of shit. Pretty much, and I think I pretty much covered.
Pretty much wrap it up.
I can pretty much cover it.
Fireworks are going to overpower you any minute.
Yeah, true.
It's
getting dark. It's just turning 9 p.m. and it's getting dark. So
they're letting off fireworks.
So all the fireworks are going to go off. All right. So hope you enjoyed, if that's the word, this episode about the very horrible Israel Keyes, the serial killer. Hopefully we can do a revisit on it if they, find some other crimes that he committed, which I kind of hope they do. I'm going to sort of keep up with it because I find it really fascinating. Remember, if you like the show, to like, share, subscribe on all your social media. And if you would like to financially support the show, you can go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/13o'clock, or you can go to our blog, which is 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com. And there's a link in the sidebar to a PayPal account if you'd like to give a one-time donation. Also, remember to check out our latest movie review, which was the George Romero vampire movie Martin from 1978. And also remember to check out our Zazzle store at zazzle.com/13o'clock and check out all our new t-shirts as well as our old ones. They're all pretty cool. And that'll do it for episode 99. We will see you next time on the big 100th episode. Bye.
Killing stranger.